Hello, my name is Stephen Denman. My organisation is Shining Guidance. My website is shiningguidance.com. I want to talk to you today about the entire concept of money. Now, you can call it currency, you can call it cash, but money is something that's integral to the lifestyles of pretty much every human being on planet Earth, especially in the Western world. We see all the crises that are going on, all the time in Western Europe, parts of Eastern Europe, all the stuff that's happening economically and financially in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and the Irish Republic, the United States of America and Canada, and everywhere else. But bring it back to the concept of money, we know that the officially accepted origins of money are said to have arisen in the ancient civilization of Sumeria, which was a city state based civilization that was founded in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East around 5,300 years before present, around 7,300 years ago. Now, from the civilization of Sumer arose the city states where money and taxation were further developed and refined in the civilizations that were known of as Akkad and Babylon and Assyria. So that's the officially accepted version of the history concerning the origins of money, but the actual unofficially accepted version of history shows very clearly that the origins of money are from an off world grouping of extraterrestrials who brought the concept of credits and units or units and credits to planet Earth, and they were known in historical texts and so on as the Greadans or the Rigelians or the Orion Greys, and these were extraterrestrials who still reside to this day on the planet Greater and upon other planets and moons that orbit Rigel A and Rigel B within the Rigel system of the Orion constellation. So I don't want to really go too much more into talking about the extraterrestrial aspects of the origins of this conceptual medium that we use called money. I say that's probably information I can present in another video on another occasion. But we can fast forward it by thousands of years from those times in ancient Sumeria and then Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, and how the monetary and taxation structures and procedures were taken from that area and kind of went into dynastic China and Vedic India and to classical Greece and across Western Europe, and the rest they say is history. So we bring forward these individuals that are classed as the elites or the cabals, the hidden hand, and their ancestral genetics, their hereditary kind of system they put in place where they're in control is these so-called hybrids. They have these different genetics that they feel entitles them as the elites or the cabal or the hidden hand to have this control over the planet through this medium of using money and so on. So if we take a look, for example, just in the United Kingdom of how some of this controlling structure is constantly implemented, you have the pound sterling currency that is seen as money, which is printed, you know, on a smaller scale by the Bank of England through the use of quantitative easing, which is being used, for example, to try and reduce and cancel out a large amount of the 2.5 trillion to 2.6 trillion pounds of national debt that's currently quite a big problem in the United Kingdom of Great Britain for HM government. And then you take it other kinds of financial institutions that are involved in the management and production and therefore the propagation of realism surrounding the usage of money. We can see, for example, that the International Monetary Fund or the IMF, the European Central Bank or the ECB in Frankfurt, Germany, and the World Bank and the Bank of International Settlements or the BIS in Basel in Switzerland, and obviously, of course, the Bank of England, which is located along Threadneedle Street in the City of London of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, all have a huge amount of influence in maintaining the status quo that money is this realistic, authentic thing. We have to consistently identify with it, and they work obviously all together with the high street banks, the high street building societies, the financial investment companies, and so on. So if you ever look at the governor of the Bank of England, who currently is Andrew John Bailey, he'll sit there in front of the news media, whether it's it's journalists from the BBC or ITN, which is broadcast on ITV, Channel 4 News, Sky News, or Channel 5 News, or information he's giving out about the seriousness of where the UK economy is going and hyperinflation that's progressively taking place with the pound sterling, the international financial markets in an unstable position, and it's constantly conveying this digital medium of stagecrafting towards the general public that we must realise how serious these problems with money is. And of course, what they're doing is they're taking this illusion of money, which is really the monetary delusion, and saying, right, here's the system, it's not effective anymore, we need to introduce a new system. But they've got to create a global crisis that's going to last at least 12 to 18 months, creating tremendous amounts of psychological and emotional stress for hundreds of millions and millions of human beings around planet Earth, who then are going to cry out for a new system, going from one conceptual monetary basis to another, which are both going to be fictional. And in fact, the second one, which will eventually be a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, will be a cashless society. And as we know, they've already removed from circulation the 20 and £50 notes out of the UK economy, and eventually they'll remove the £5 and the £10 notes, and eventually all the coinage will be gone. Everything from the 1p to the 2p to the 5p to the 10p, the 20p, the 50p, the £1 and the £2 coins, they'll all be gone. Not straight away, but over the next 6, 12, 18 months, 24 months, and maybe 36 months, slowly and steadily phasing it out and creating crisis after crisis to justify doing that. And the public will acquiesce, of course. So the fictional presence of this thing that we have given some sort of tangible value to, that's completely valueless, called money or cash, is going to be even more illusory, and eventually becoming intangible, but still we're expected to believe it's this highly realistic thing, which will end up just being electronic and digital number readouts on a computer screen, or it could be on the screen of a mobile phone, or a tablet, because eventually there won't be any coinage and notage in circulation in any country on planet Earth. And it seems to be that the United Kingdom of Great Britain is taking the leaps and bounds it's wanting to ahead of other countries to kind of set the example to bring in that central bank digital currency, or CBDC, which will be a units and credits, or credits and units system, which is exactly what has been used for thousands and thousands of years, aeons of time, on the planets and moons orbiting Rigel A and Rigel B within the Rigel system of the Orion constellation. And it's those extraterrestrials, that's the Greydons or the Rigelians or the Orion Greys, that founded this original units and credits, or credits and units system in ancient Sumer in the Middle East, that was then developed and further honed to perfection within the civilizations of Akkad, and then Babylon and Assyria in the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East, and dynastic China and Vedic India and classical Greece and Western Europe and so on. You can see how this has all been mapped out over many, many aeons of time. So, the truth behind what money really is the presence of the secret society networks and their ceremonial magic and their Satanism, and that they only view money as currency and therefore cash flow as a major social experiment in long-term control over human consciousness, and the delusion of monetary value, and therefore the monetary delusion, has to be maintained as the status quo. We then can, for example, look at the theories about money, which the very famous German socialist and social philosopher known as Georg Simmel has developed, where he basically theorized that money is a structuring agent that should be seen as integral, from awakening from a long night's sleep through the day, 7 days of the week, of every day, of every week, of every month, month in, month out, year after year, for the lives of all human beings on planet Earth. So he's actually been given funding, this German sociologist and social philosopher known as Georg Simmel, to then put that information out there. Oh well, he's being officialized by the elites, or the cabal, or the hidden hand, through the financing and in the academic research institutes that he's commissioned by, to put such information out there. So it makes it look like we can't live our lives like money. It's got to be seen as a structuring agent in the lifestyles of all human beings. And then we take a look at the fact that if you have an individual who's an account holder who will go to an automated tilling machine or an ATM, also known as the hole in the wall, whether it's the hole in a wall, that's at a high street bank or a high street building society or a local supermarket or a petrol station or a small, a small food store in a small town somewhere, say just in the United Kingdom or Great Britain, and they put their credit card or debit card into that automated tilling machine or ATM. They're going to receive a £10, a £20. They're not going to receive it. No, they're not going to receive that. No, I think it's out. Yeah, it is out of circulation. They're not going to receive any of that. They're going to receive a fiver or a tenner. So if they want £50, they're going to end up with five £10 notes. So what we need to understand is who is collaborating with who behind the scenes to issue this thing called money that is then issued to the public. So a lot of people have a misconception, for example, that the Bank of England is printing out all the money. It isn't. The Bank of England is only responsible for printing the notage. That's now only the £5 and £10 notes. Is only responsible for 3% of all the £5 and £10 notes that are printed and produced in the United Kingdom. The other 97% are actually printed and produced by the high street banks, and that would be organisations such as HSBC Holdings plc and Barclays Bank plc and the Lloyds Banking Group plc, who collectively are printing out that money for personal account holders and businesses in the form of credit loans and mortgages. And I'll come on to that a bit later on in the talk, the old concept of printing this fictional thing called money out of nothing and charging interest as a fee for printing it out and then making money off money that never existed in the first place. So we also know, for example, that the Royal Mint Limited, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of HM Treasury and therefore HM Government, at Whitehall in London, near to the House of Commons and the House of Lords, that are also known collectively as the Houses of Parliament at Westminster, they basically mint, cast and mint, literally all the 1, the 2, the 5, the 10, 50p's, everything. It's all minted by them, and that's put into circulation. So you've got different organisations. You've got the government on the one hand doing all the coinage. You've got the Bank of England doing only 3% of the £5 and £10 notes that are being put into circulation, and the other 97% are put into circulation by HSBC Holdings, Barclays Bank, and Lloyds Banking Group. So that's very interesting. Why is that arrangement in place? Nobody even says why. Nobody questions anything. But it's interesting. You literally have a public-private partnership going on. So UK taxpayers' money is going literally to fund HM Treasury to then produce all this coinage, these 1, these 2, 5, 10p's and so forth. I find that fascinating myself. So again, it adds to me the illusion of money. What it really is not what it really appears to be. It's something completely different. So if we have a look at the core of the monetary illusion in one of the best examples that I think I can give, if you have an individual who is a prospective mortgagee, that individual is then going to go to a financial advisor or a mortgage broker at a high street bank. They're going to sit there, they're going to fill out the mortgage application, or they may have done it online. It's been emailed across to the financial advisor or the mortgage broker, and they will sit there at the desk, and the financial advisor or the mortgage broker is going to sit there and they're going to type out all the information that they've given them, and they're going to say, okay, let's have a look at this. They're going to then log into their account on the database on the computer. They're going to type the amount of the mortgage loan for the property in, and then they're going to press enter. And they're going to transfer that digital money, which is just numbers on a screen, and that's going to be transferred across into an account for that prospective mortgagee. Hence, the high street banks that do this and the high street building societies that do this have electronically produced money out of literally nothing, which is not gold, silver, palladium or platinum backed. Then interest is being charged on the mortgage loan, and that interest is really what the high street banks and the high street building societies, as the mortgage lenders they are using as a fee. They're saying, well, we're charging you this fee for printing something out of nothing, and then the fee actually we charge you is really nothing either, but we're going to make that as money as profit for our organisation. When you actually think of it in those terms, it's ludicrous. It really epitomises the illusory nature of money. So you have to ask, really, why do they even bother charging a fee in the form of interest? And they do the same, obviously, with overdraft facilities. They do the same to individuals to some extent. Obviously, who've got credit cards and they go over their limit on their credit cards. It really is an ineffective system that's just designed to stymie and restrict human consciousness. So, again, it further adds to the illusion, and behind it all is the origins of money in the form of credits and units, or units and credits that came from planets and moons, controlled and ordered and managed by these Rigelians. You can call them the Orion Greys. Orbiting Rigel A and Rigel B in the Rigel system of the Orion constellation, many thousands and thousands of years ago. Now, there's an individual called Leonard Ulrich. Now, Leonard Ulrich is an amazing guy. He is an American Christian who's a filmmaker, and he actually produced a documentary called The Illusion of Money. And Leonard Ulrich goes into great detail from the perspective of a devout American Christian, from the perspective of using eschatology, from the perspective of really understanding Christology, in reference to how we view ourselves as human beings in terms of our thoughts and emotions, and how we need to really question what are our priorities, what is important. Is it money and material consumer spending and acquisition, where we're heading in the 21st century? You take a look at the digital superhighway that's developing. It's 5G, eventually it'll be 6G or an equivalent to 6G. But where are we heading as people? And this needs to be discussed. And obviously it's not being discussed on any serious platform. It's all these agendas are being, subversively driven ahead. They're being funded and financed and pushed ahead all the time. So he really goes into some fascinating details that really summarizes and defines, the monetary delusion. So when we look at the concept of cash flow and money, and therefore credit lines, it's really just based upon human beings accepting that they're going to be using a third-party debt usury system. And that third-party debt usury system is where interest is basically charged on money that has been instantly created out of nothing, that hasn't really got any tangible value, any tangible wealth. It's certainly not gold, silver, palladium or platinum backed. So it's got no tangible asset wealth backing. It's just the trust you put in that third-party debt usury system and how much belief you have in the currency you hold. And the irony of the elites or the cabal and the hidden hand with their fiat currency deceptions over the masses is, once they're moving towards a central bank digital currency or CBDC, what you're going to end up with is an even more intangible conceptual understanding of money that you're still expected to believe is tangible and is realistic, even though you don't have any physical coinage or notage. And as I said, the Bank of England has already taken out of circulation the 20 and the £50 notes. So I think that was a few weeks ago. And so, eventually the £5 and £10 notes will go, and then after that it's going to be the coinage, and eventually we'll just have a central bank digital currency or CBDC. It'll all be just digits on screens, on mobile phone apps, on laptops or PCs, tablets, or Macs or whatever it is, and everything's going to be digital and online, and eventually you won't have any high street banks or high street building societies. That further adds to the lack of tangibility, while you're still expected to believe that this thing called money is the all-powerful, the all-seeing force that you need to have constantly integrated in your life, that it's so relevant, and everything you do from birth to death has to be centered around the acquisition of money and balancing the books and looking after your finances. And to some extent that's true, but that's not who we really are. Human beings, that's human beings that each have a soul personality. We're beings of love and we're beings of light. We are the children of the universal creator of heaven and earth and every eternal parallel dimension, parallel reality and parallel universe forever and ever and ever and ever. When any individual passes on from this world, you don't take money with you. You don't take any of the acquired material objects with you either. And yet such vast egocentric and egocentronic emphasis is placed on the importance of money, because it's a control structure the elites need to manipulate and to stymie the true development, the spiritual development of human consciousness. But, you know, that's the way it is. So we can therefore see that the system that we live in is very, very, very different than the system that is conveyed to us as the official version of reality they want you to believe in. It's all complete and utter hocus pocus. It's all just rubbish. We know that now. So therefore, the third party debt usury system is really part of the credit and unit and credit controlling scheme, which these bloodline families from extraterrestrials such as the Greadans, also known as the Rigelians or the Orion Greys, from their planets and moons orbiting Rigel A and Rigel B in the Rigel system of the Orion constellation, plus also other genetic inputs that have come from various extraterrestrials that are known as the Draco or the Reptilians from the Alpha Draconis system in the Draco constellation, also have been part of as well. And so we're living in a system where we think this thing called money is a very mundane and conventional thing, but the irony is its origins are off-world. They don't even come from this planet at all. And it was designed to be that way. It was designed to make you believe that you cannot live your life without this third-party debt usury system that's really a debt instrument. You're not really dealing with tangible asset wealth backed currencies. And if globally on this planet it all moved towards having a tangible currency, not a central bank digital currency or CBDC, where it was actually, and you know, the actual coinage and notage you have in your hands, in your pockets, your wallets, in your bank accounts, really is, tangibly asset wealth backed with gold, silver, palladium, or platinum, it would actually ironically help the elites or the cabal or the hidden hand, because it would create a much more tangible sense of its realism. And what they've done is, indirectly, by wanting to make everything a cashless society, they're making it even more intangible than it already was. And I kind of find that ironic in a way. But I think I've kind of summarized everything I wanted to say in this talk. It's a very complex subject, the whole concept of money and therefore cash and everything else around it. And I think I've covered everything I wanted to say, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I've got many more videos to come in the near future. And on that note, I'm going to say farewell, folks, and take care.